Happy Tuesday, one and all. Hope you're all doing great. Rob Ellis, Tone to Shields. My man, Tone. What's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I feel great this morning. Went out, got some sun a little bit before we started the show. And, I feel good, man. I smell good. Took my vitamins, got my thoughts down, planned out my week in my planner, man. I feel good.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. What's up, Teresa? What's up, Jimmy? It's Joe. Ho. I'm awake. Are you? Tamu. Twiz, William, Jason, Thaddeus, Rob from Temple, Richie, ARS, Brandon Moore. Let's see who else we have. South Jersey D, James Autumn, Chuck, Ken. Hi, everybody. All right, so let's hit a couple things here.
Let's do it.
Tone, we know that the Eagles will be playing on Friday, September 6th. Yes, you heard me right. When you hear Friday at first, you're saying, Friday, what? Yes, there will be an NFL game on Friday. The Eagles will be playing, to be determined. That always tough TBD. We don't know who it's going to be yet. September 6th, which is a Friday, in Sao Paulo, Brazil. They will be playing in Brazil for the first time in their club history. So, interesting. It's considered one of their home games. They get 9 this year. So, they will play 8 in Philadelphia, 1 in Brazil. Tone. I want to gauge everybody first. Folks want to jump in, tell me how you feel about this, and tell us how you feel about it. But I'll bounce it off you because I want to hear you first. But I had one immediate reaction when I saw this news last night. But tell me how you feel about it.
For me, the first thing I thought to myself was, what time do I have to watch the game? What's the time zone difference? That's what I thought about. Now, obviously, if they're doing this on a Friday, I would like to think that they thought this time zone thing out. I don't know. Like, do you know? Are you aware of how the time zone works as far as what time we would have to watch? We would be able to watch it versus.
Well, I think it depends what time the game starts. We don't know yet.
Exactly. So, like, I'm trying to think.
Maybe they start the game. I want to say it's like 6 hours, but maybe they start the game at noon Brazilian time, and we get a 6 p.m. on a Friday or something like that, or a 1 o'clock gets us a 7 p.m.
So listen to this. Right now in Sao Paulo, it's 1:05 p.m.
Oh, okay. So it's 2 hours.
Right. So if the game, so it's a 2 hour difference. Well, actually, 2 hour difference from you. Well, it's actually for you, it's a 2 hour difference for you. For me, it'd be a 3 hour difference. So if they played the game at what? 12 o'clock, I would have to watch it at 3 p.m.
It's a Friday. I'm guessing that game's played at night.
So if they played it
8 o'clock, 9 o'clock start in Brazil, we get a 7 o'clock kickoff. Would be a guess from me. That's just a guess. No idea.
I think I got that right. I think. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. If they played at 9 over there, it'd be a 7 o'clock game for
Eastern time zone, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 7 for you, 6 for me.
That would be a guess of mine. Somewhere around there, I think makes sense.
Yeah, because they're 3 hours. They're 3 hours ahead of me. But overall, though, I'm intrigued by it. I'm not really full transparency. I've never really been a fan of the international games. For time purposes. But I understand what the NFL is doing. They're trying to increase their footprint on the planet, and I totally get it. We'll see how it works out, though. It's going to be very different to see the Philadelphia Eagles playing in Brazil. But look, it gives the Philadelphia Eagles a chance to increase their footprint, their fan base. But we'll see how it happens. I'm pretty indifferent about it. How about you?
All right. So here was my first thought. The Eagles had so many night games, such a brutal schedule last year. And again, this is not why they collapsed before everybody starts saying that I'm saying that. I'm not blaming that on what happened. But they had so many night games last year, so many later starts to their games that I'm thinking, here we go again, a 14-hour flight to Brazil. And I know it's played on a Friday, and I'm sure they'll fly back Saturday, and you get an extra day's rest out of it. And I know it's the first game of the season, which lightens the load a little bit. But the last thing I want is this team having goofy travel conditions again. So I looked at it strictly from a football standpoint, not a global, broadening the brand thing for the NFL. But I thought about it from an Eagles perspective, where you're taking a really long flight to get there. I would imagine they probably spend a week there getting used to the conditions. But then you got to take a really long flight back. So even with the extra day or two, I don't know how much difference that makes That was my first issue with this.
I'm trying to think. So I'm looking at the flight right now. I believe a flight to Sao Paulo, Brazil, from my location is 15 hours and 30 minutes for me.
That's a murderous flight.
That's a murderous flight. I've never flown anywhere. Yeah, I don't think I've ever flown anywhere that far before.
We flew to Ireland, which was a very long
Actually,
flight.
you know what? I'm trying to think. I flew from Philadelphia to Hawaii. I think that's
what's that, about 8? I don't know.
I can't remember. But it was a pretty much a full day of traveling because we had a couple connecting flights. But yeah, it's just, I'm glad that it's first game of the year. Get it out the way. That's one thing I will say.
Yeah,
I'm glad that they get to get it out the way and they don't have to worry about any kind of wonky schedule, on the back end, because that kind of game or that kind of schedule, you don't want that in between maybe a tough matchup.
No, you don't. You can't. This is the only way you can do this, is the opener. It's the only way with Brazil.
Yeah, There's no way you will be able to do this in like week 8 or week 6. It'd be chaos. It'd be chaos.
Yeah.
But overall, it's pretty cool.
I don't. Again, I'm gonna somewhat sound like the ugly American here. I don't really care about these European games. I don't.
I told you, I don't care about them at all.
It does nothing. Like, I'm glad the NFL is going to make even more money. God bless. What else is new?
Right.
And they're looking to sell more, Eagles jerseys in Brazil.
Right. It's not like they need it.
Have at it. Yeah, whatever. But I don't care about that. I care about how it affects the football team that I, follow. And I just hope that we're not in this same cycle where, this game, the Eagles have all these night games, all these goofy turnaround games. I mean, hell, they even got a playoff game at night on Monday night.
Yeah. They
They
were the finale on Wild Card Weekend, and it was a grand finale, all right.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, I don't really care about the international games in any shape, way, or form. Those are for the NFL. Those aren't for the players. Those aren't for the fan. Maybe for the international fans, But overall, I'm indifferent about this whole thing, man. I'm just glad that it's the first week of the season, not the 4th or the 7th or whatever it may have you. I'm just glad they get it out of the way. I can figure out my life in week 1, and after that, I can go back to business as usual.
Yeah, I look at it. I'm looking at it from a football perspective, and to me, I don't know. We'll see how it plays. The place holds like 49,000 where they're going to play. We don't know the opponent yet. Here's what we know. The Eagles' home games this year are designated as Dallas, New York, and Washington, the usuals. Then it's Cleveland, Atlanta, Carolina, Jacksonville, Green Bay, and Pittsburgh. Now, you can exclude Jacksonville and Carolina because they're already playing a game in Europe. So that takes them out of the fray because you can't have multiple games unless it's staying in the same. Like Jacksonville sometimes does 2 straight weeks in London or whatever.
Yeah, didn't Jacksonville play London twice last year?
Yeah, so that – but either way, you can't get either one of those 2 teams. You can't get Carolina or Jacksonville in Brazil.
Right.
I don't think they're going to go with a division game in Brazil. That's just my take on this thing. Okay. So I'm guessing we're staring at either Cleveland, Atlanta, Green Bay, or Pittsburgh. That would be my guess.
Who's the bigger brand to you?
Of that group, Pittsburgh.
Might be Pittsburgh.
The biggest brand. It's not necessarily the biggest market, but it's the biggest brand with success over the years in the NFL. But do they want to take away the Pennsylvania, interstate rivalry thing?
Oh, that's a good point. That's a good point because people travel for those games. That's a good point.
I'm just trying to think out loud,
No. That's a good point. That's a good point. They may want to keep that in PA. That's a very good
Atlanta,
point.
for whatever reason,
it might be Atlanta.
Atlanta feels like it's possible.
Yeah, it could be Atlanta.
Could be possible. Yeah. But anyway, look, is it an interesting twist? Yeah.
Sure.
Does it show you that the Eagles brand is a big brand because they play the amount of night games and now they want to showcase them in Brazil? Yes. So if you're an Eagles fan, I guess you're happy about that. I just don't want it to be something where you're playing catch up week 2, week 3, because you're a little bit tired from week 1.
Mm-hmm.
That's all.
Yeah. Like I said, I'd rather them get it out of the way now. I roll with that.
Yeah. All right. Elsewhere. So they had the media day / night last night. And by the way, yes, please hit the like button if you could. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. We appreciate you guys for locking in. Smash that like button. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, man. We appreciate all the love you guys provide. It means a lot to us.
Yeah, no doubt. And so Travis Kelce was a big attraction, as you would expect he would be. And the subject of his brother Jason came up. And this is when we got word that the Eagles were playing in Brazil, and somebody posed the question to him, "Hey, what do you think about? Do you think your brother Jason will be playing a game in Brazil next year?" Quote, "I think so." And then
that was clever. Whoever posed that question was clever.
I know, right? Great job out of somebody. But then you saw the wheels start to spin a little bit for Travis, and then he's like, "I don't know. I'm not a betting man. I think he has a lot of football left in him if he wants." So he moonwalked out of that pretty quick. But his initial, you know what it is though, Tone? Your initial response, your gut, before you really have time to process everything, was, "I think so." Feeling more and more like he's coming back for one.
I know something you don't know, and I got something to tell you. That's exactly what that was. And guess what, man? I said it before. I think I had this inkling that Kelce is going to come back. You know, we talked about this offline, and you know, Jason Kelce, to me, from a distance, I don't know the man personally, never met him before. Would love to one day, but overall, he strikes me as the kind of person who handles work-life balance very well. He has the podcast. Obviously, he's become more than just a football player. I mean, what center in football history has the notoriety of that he's accumulated over the past handful of years?
Yep.
And it all started with that, with that Mummers uniform Super Bowl speech. That's when it started.
Yeah.
And he's been, skyrocketing ever since then. But again, just based off of how he carries himself, based off the little things I see, he strikes me as someone who balances the work and the life very well. He appears to have the utmost support from his family, the parents, his wife. His little girls are very young still, so they're at that stage where they're kind of just they enjoy seeing daddy on the TV. Oh, where's daddy? It's fun for them.
Yeah.
They enjoy going to these events, and even seeing him at the Pro Bowl move around. He's enjoying the atmosphere. He's enjoying the camaraderie, with his peers. And I just don't see him being at a point quite yet where he's ready to give that up.
Right.
Again, he has a lot going for him right now with the podcast, the branding, so on and so forth. He has commercials left and right. I think him and Lada and Cox and Fletcher Cox got a Tide commercial. It's pretty funny. But he doesn't strike me as a guy who's quite done yet. Just not quite. And let's just take it a step further, Rob. Let's talk about the obvious. This man is at the top of his craft, at the top of his game.
Mm-hmm.
Is he really ready to give that up? It'd be different if he, just like everybody else, fell off a cliff on the back end. Nah, Kelce was the best center in football, according to the Associated Press, first team All-Pro.
Right.
I don't think he's ready to give that up quite yet, man.
Yeah, I think, and of course you don't want to see this, but if the guy was broken down and you could see he's hobbling,
injuries left and right,
then your decision becomes that much easier, right? It's more challenging. You're playing it here. I think there's two factors, Tone. He's playing at the top of his game, or darn close to it. And I can't imagine that this guy didn't hate the way that ended last year. It was everything he doesn't stand for.
To lay down everything, the effort, the mentality. It was completely contrary to how. It was contrary to what he believes Philadelphia Eagles football should represent.
Right. And then the other thing, and I think Chuck brings up an interesting point here. Without a hometown discount, the Eagles just can't afford Kelce. Hope he comes back at the right price. I think he made about 14 this year. I would be curious.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I would be curious what number he's looking for. So if I don't know, if he was willing to take a little bit of a hit, that could go a long way too. I don't know. He may look at it like, dude, if I put my body through this at 35, 36 years old, I want to be compensated. I don't know. And I don't fault him. I don't get on NFL players at all under any circumstance for wanting to be paid for the torture they put themselves through physically. So I wouldn't knock Jason if he wanted the same pay or more. But anyway, that is also going to be a consideration too, I think, because
they paid him. You were right. 14 million. Well, 14.25 to be exact. Looking at his contract situation, they have a lot of money deferred out, so he's going to still get paid from his team for quite some time.
Sure. So that's a factor. There's no doubt that's a factor.
Yeah, I just, is it really about, that begs the question, right? Is it about the money at this point for him?
Right.
I don't believe that. Again, everybody wants to be compensated fairly. I'm not denying that. But he doesn't strike at this point, right? With everything going for him, I don't think that's the number one deciding factor. Will they pay me accordingly? I think they're going to pay him fairly if he decides to come back. I think the Eagles are going to make, I'll put it this way. If he decides he wants to come back, the Eagles are going to move mountains to make sure that contract makes sense.
I agree.
It's just that simple.
I agree. Yep, I do. And that here's my guess also. We certainly, he doesn't want to take any shine off of Travis or the Super Bowl in any way, shape, or form. My guess is we'll find out next week or the following, because he also doesn't want to drag the Eagles out with this where they can't make plans, accordingly. So we're going to know. Here's my guess. What are we at? February 6th?
Mm-hmm.
By the 20th, we know. We have an answer. Would be my guess. One way or the other.
That's pretty reasonable, because I would like to think he would tell them before the combine.
Absolutely. So all right, so that's when he told them last year. He had Howie on the New Heights podcast and made the announcement. So I think we'll know by then. All right, now the third tier to sort of the big story. Joel Embiid had his surgery today, Tone. He'll be reevaluated in 4 weeks. So he had surgery on the meniscus. We know he had the flap issue, whatever. He had that trimmed. And
so he didn't get the full, because remember when Keith talked about it yesterday, it was 2 ways to go about it. And so he took the shorter recovery time rather than the fuller.
Well, that's what they're saying, 4 weeks. So I don't know. I know this. It's a second surgery on that knee. So I know there are a lot of people that are very optimistically looking at this and saying, he's coming back, man. 4 weeks, blah, blah, blah. That's 4 weeks they're going to reevaluate.
Yeah. Not when they're going to reevaluate it. Then at that point, we'll get a stronger timetable when he'll return.
Right. So we don't know what this is. And look, I'm guessing it doesn't seem like it was a super long procedure, which I would lend to, and again, I'm totally speculating here, would lend to think that there wasn't, they didn't open up his knee and it was a disaster area. So, I mean, I hopefully this is something you get corrected, you get him back at some point this season. But I know a lot of people who think he could be done for the year, and does can his leg hold up? I don't know. It's a really good question. If you watch them, and I watched them last night, and to their credit, they played pretty good for a while against the Mavs in the first half. They really held Luka and Kyrie Irving in check for about a half. Here's the problem, Tone. And we're going to talk to David Murphy, columnist from the Inquirer, at 11:30 about a bunch of different things, including this. But what you're starting to see now, and especially because they were still without Batum and Melton, they're running 2 and 3 guys at Maxey. Like at the top of the key. They're just running dudes.
As soon as he crosses half court, they're right at him.
Right. So it's very hard for him to do anything, and they just don't have scoring options. And when we know what Tobias is, but there isn't much else. So it is going to be difficult unless they bring in another scorer by Thursday, which is when the trade deadline is. It's going to be a tough road to hoe for them.
You know what they're going to need potentially, and it's not even. I'm not even talking about the trade deadline. I mean, as far as their approach entering these games, I think throughout some of those games, they're going to have to find a way to put the ball in someone else's hands so they can push it, and then
play him off the ball.
Max is going to have to get creative off ball.
Yeah,
and force the opponent to make decisions. I'm not saying it's going to be an every possession thing, but I think Nick Nurse is going to. Nick Nurse seems like a guy who adapts well to his situation. So I wouldn't be surprised if, we start seeing situations where whenever Melton comes back, you see him pushing, and then, Maxey, comes off ball, makes his move or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Just try to put a different type of stress on the defense. But overall, without Joel Embiid, this team is a shell of itself.
Yeah.
No matter how great Tyrese Maxey is, no matter how many 50-point, 40-point games, 35-point games he drops, it can only do but so much. He can't drop 50 every night. It's just not feasible. Can't drop 40 every night. Not feasible. 30, okay, but he's still, in my opinion, I think Maxey is still learning how to be a dominant player and impose his will. But overall, this team was designed around Joel Embiid, And when you're missing your largest puzzle piece, it's likely to be incomplete.
Yeah, and the problem, it's a problem when you have an injury to one of the two major pieces. Right. This team was built with role players around those guys who know what their jobs are. They're going to set screens. They're going to do dirt. I don't mean Tobias. Tobias has got to score a little bit, but most of the other guys have to set screens, play defense, do dirty work, make the right pass, do all those kind of things. Yeah. Losing one of those two guys, it's deadly.
It changed everything.
Yeah, everything changes. And now everybody's job, like you're getting guys playing minutes who aren't used to playing these kind of minutes. You got guys who you're asking to score who aren't accustomed to scoring like this, and everything is a trickle down effect, which you see it, man. And you saw it last night. The dam broke in the second half and they couldn't do anything. So,
look, Tobias Harris, I understand he's not like the main scorer, but look, this is what you get paid for. This is, at the end of the day, it's basketball, bro. Mm-hmm. Tobias Harris has to become a legitimate threat so they don't crash on Maxey. It's just that simple. Tobias Harris has to help Tyrese Maxey. He can't just keep being a passive player. Until further notice, Tobias Harris needs to carry himself like a legitimate number 2 or a legitimate scoring threat. Every time you get the ball, look to score. Every time. You know what I mean? If you got the mismatch, attack. Mm-hmm. Get to the free throw line. Mm-hmm. Make them respect you so you can take some pressure off of Maxey. Otherwise, he's not going to be able to really get anything done efficiently or effectively if they're crashing him.
All right, so let's circle back. I want everybody to jump in there in the chat as well. Does it bring any added excitement level for you that the Eagles are playing a game in Brazil? And again, I know, I'm sure I come off like the small-minded American here. I get it. It doesn't do anything for me, frankly. Do I think some of the scenics will be cool? Yes. Do I think it'll be cool for people to be able to travel to the game who are fans? Yeah, of course. That'll be a trip you'll never forget, right? I love all that. If you could afford it, great. So I think from all those standpoints, I get it. It's cool. It's different. You're not hopping on a train and going to Washington. Understood. But I'm just telling you, as someone who won't be traveling to the game, who will be here, I was hoping this year, because they had a bit of a down year, we'd avoid the night, weekend. Blah, 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 blah. I know they're going to get their fair share. It's Jalen Hurts, it's the Eagles, etc. But here, I feel like here we go again with this Brazil game. That's where I'm at. I'm glad it's the first game of the year. That offsets it a little bit. But it doesn't move the needle for me at all.
I'm totally with you. I couldn't agree with you more. It's just another business proposition for the NFL. Really, that's how I look at it.
Yeah.
It's okay. And here's another thing too, right? We live in a generation where everything is bombarding with information and we're supposed to care about everything, right? And the fact of the matter is we don't have to care about everything. And when it comes to this Brazil game with the Philadelphia Eagles and whoever they play, I genuinely don't care about it. Like you, I may come off as the snobby American, but hey, man, first of all, you're fucking up my time. playing in a different time zone like that. It's a Friday. You know what I mean? It's just weird, but it is what it is. It's par for the course for the NFL. This is what they do. But overall, I'm indifferent.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I mean, that's a good way to explain it. Like, just as far as the league making more money, pageantry, whatever we're calling this, whatever. I don't care. I frankly don't. It doesn't do anything for me. So that's where I'm at, man. That's where I'm at.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles.
And there's going to be more and more of it. Just get ready. And I think the other thing that they're setting themselves up for, at least for the first game of the year, is a Friday game. Oh, we're going to come out of the shoot.
You think this was the pilot project?
100%. We are going to come out of the shoot eventually, and there's going to be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday night game, Sunday, Monday.
The NFL wants to dominate the weekend. The NFL can dominate Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. 5 days out of the week.
That's what they're going to do.
That's insane.
The only days you're not going to have action, at least that first week, or Tuesday,
Wednesday. That's insane.
That's it. They're not going to care about college football. They're going to steamroll anything else in their way. We saw it this past year on Christmas. Like that's where it's headed. That's where.
And also, it's also where it's headed. They're going to start having playoff games internationally. I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised a playoff game internationally. I would not be surprised. The next thing you know, Lord knows when and if, an international Super Bowl.
Yeah.
If they decide to do that, maybe that may be counterproductive for them. Who knows? But listen, if they've already gone to these lengths, we can't put anything past them. We're watching football games on Peacock now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're watching football games on Amazon. We're
Roger
watching
Goodell addressed that yesterday
on streaming services. So I'm telling you, we're trending to a pay-per-view Super Bowl.
Yep. I agree with you. Oh, it's headed that way for sure. All right, let's sneak a quickie in, and we will come back and we will talk to columnist from the Philadelphia Inquirer, David Murphy. We'll talk to him about Embiid. We'll talk to him about the Eagles, their offseason, what he thinks their priorities should be. We'll talk Phillies, pitchers, and catchers. Got a lot to do with David. And then after that, I'm going to measure the Eagles up with the NFC East. That's coaching, that's ownership, that's quarterback, that's GM, that's just overall team rankings, the whole nine. We'll do that at 12 o'clock. Don't go anywhere. That's Tone. I'm Rob. We're Sports Take. Let's talk about Bravo Pizza of Havertown. Bravo Pizza of Havertown, family owned since 1985. You get Alex and his great crew in there each and every day, putting out the best, most fresh food that you could possibly get. Bravo Pizza of Havertown offers 20 different styles of pizza. They have slices to go. They have the specialized pizza. However you like it, they'll make it, but they don't just do pizza. They have fresh pasta, sandwiches, wraps, wings, salads. You name it across the board. Bravo Pizza of Havertown is also committed to the community. They have fundraisers for charity, schools, little leagues, where the proceeds go to those organizations. You can follow them at the Bravo Pizza of on Instagram and Facebook. They're located at 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown, Pennsylvania. Give them a call, 610-446-3810, 610-446-3810. Bravo Pizza of Havertown.
I remember getting my heart broken when they lost the Super Bowl in 2004. We were big Eagles fans. We moved to South Philly because of the Eagles. When they won, we went straight to Broad Street, and everybody was going nuts over there, and it was just a memory that you'll never forget.